What's up, everybody? It's your boy Chaz Pearson, and this is a special edition of the Outlet Forum with my esteemed co-host Chris Camello. What's up, Chris?
Your Los Angeles Lukers.
Hey, we got to get right into it, man, because we wouldn't be on. We normally do not come on Sunday evenings or, right before the Grammys or, right before, halftime of whatever game is on right now. I think it's Philly and
Boston in Philly right
Boston.
now.
I think
Yeah.
Philly is just absolutely mopping them up too, by the way.
hmm
Um, but yeah, man, we got to get into this blockbuster trade with the Lakers because what happened last night was an absolute shit show. An absolute shit show. Like you think that AD is gonna, retire a Laker. He says what he has to say. I think what was it last week or the week before with the Sham Sharani interview, talking about how he wanted a big man and he was his best when he wasn't playing the five. And lo and behold, he's no longer playing the five, but it is not in a Laker uniform. So, man, the fact that AD
It
is gone,
was
it's crazy, right?
it is. And okay, so let's break all of this down. Let's start from the beginning. Lakers were coming off perhaps one of their best road wins of the season. They went into New York, no AD, and they knock off a Knicks team that had won 5 in a row. We thought for sure, Chaz, that this is one of the 2, maybe 3 games that they're going to lose on this road trip, right? And they go in
Definitely.
there, they play a very good game. Everyone got in on the action. LeBron had a triple double, put on a show in front of the New York Knicks crowd, in front of Spike Lee, Chris Rock, all the usual suspects at Madison Square Garden. The Garden always brings out the best
It's always
in
great.
all of these star players. Yeah, it's basketball mecca, right? So we're all talking about the great win. Then all of a sudden, I'm literally out to dinner. You told me you were watching the fights and everything. And then the news
Good fight, by
breaks,
the
and
way.
I'm like, it couldn't have been real. Anthony Davis, who, by the way, should have been red flag number 1. Anthony Davis was not with the team in New York. Now, why should it have been a red flag? Because even though he's dealing with an abdominal strain, you thought, okay, what's the point of sending him out when this is our last East Coast stop, right? We're gonna go back to LA. We're gonna have the next 2 days off, and we're gonna get ready for the Clippers on Tuesday, which is technically the final game of this road trip. So why would he be sent home? But I think in the end, when Nico Harrison, right, the general manager of the Dallas Mavericks,
Nico Harrison.
calls you
Yep.
calls you up and says, "We are trading Luka Doncic, and you're one of our first calls." Rob Pelinka had no choice but to engage in that. A
No choice.
25-year-old international superstar who just can't, who's been a perennial all-star, a top league, say what you want about his conditioning or lack of defense. The fact is, the guy is a baller. The guy is a baller. And Anthony Davis, as much as I love him, 31 years old, having an outstanding season. Really, the last 2-3 years have been great. Really, the last 2.
I mean,
This was not an easy. Yo, go
go
ahead. Go
ahead.
ahead.
I'm sorry. No,
No,
he's
I
been
was just
great
gonna say.
he's been great all six. He's been great all
Right.
six. I don't care what anybody
But
said. When he was on the floor, he was great all six. Specifically the last 2, he's played 90% of his games. Go ahead.
But I'm saying he's been more like an MVP the last couple of years. You could kind of feel that changing of the guard. And to be honest, these have been 2 of the healthier seasons. Up until this abdominal strain, he had only missed like 3 games. And I think some of those were sort of load management, if you want to call it that, just sort of routine days off and whatnot. So that's become very common in today's NBA. So this was not an easy decision to make. And I know a lot of people are upset with it. Why? Because you're trading a big for a guard. You're trading a ball dominant, very good, but one-dimensional player, one who's going to dominate the offensive end for a guy who could dominate the offensive and the defensive end in Anthony Davis. So what needs did you really shore up? On paper, you didn't shore up anything. That's why there were a lot of people that I knew who were upset with this deal. Not just because they were Anthony Davis fans, but it's like, this doesn't help our front court. This clogs our backcourt
Guys,
now. So there is a
guys.
lot of confusion there. However, and I'm going to turn it over to you. Luka Doncic is top 5. He's 25. He knows how to lead a team deep. 2 of the last 3 years, he either went to the conference finals or went to the finals last year. And I think playing alongside someone like LeBron James, however long LeBron goes, this could be it for LeBron, who knows? But this was the right decision. But that being said, Chaz, these next moves are going to be imperative to making sure you have the right fits next to Luka and LeBron James.
Oh man, you didn't say anything that was wrong at all. But here's the main point that I want to make. Everybody is just so reactionary to things and want to make everything what it is and what it's going to be right at that very second, right when something happens. Guys, sometimes you make an executive decision and then you figure out the rest later. I'm going to talk about this from the Lakers perspective, obviously, first, since I see everything in purple and gold goggles, as you guys know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Rob Pelinka, I had no idea he had the balls to do this, regardless of if the call came to him or he made the call. Reportedly, this has been going on since what, early January? January 7th, when the Lakers went to Dallas and played the Mavericks.
Mm-hmm.
Nico Harrison and Rob Pelinka go way back to the days when Nico Harrison was an exec with Nike and Rob Pelinka was Kobe's agent, and they traveled the world with Kobe. So they
Good
have a
point.
relationship, right? So this all comes down to money and relationships. Everything in the world, most times when something seismic happens, comes down to money and relationships. And on the forefront of this is the Mavericks not wanting to pay Luca the $345 million that he was going to be up for this summer,
Supermax.
and
Yeah.
the Supermax, 5 years, 345 million. Reportedly, they're just over his lack of conditioning, not coming into camp in shape and yada 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 that they want to say about him right now, which I think is terrible because man, you think he's not in shape, but he's still that good of a player to be top five, top five player in the league, a reigning first team all NBA player, and he gets traded. What I want to know is what the Mavericks know that nobody else knows. That's the key in all this. But I'll get back to the money and the
Mm-hmm.
relationships. They didn't want to pay him. They wanted to find somebody that probably would. They wanted to get off of his contract, they being the Mavericks. And the Lakers have obviously wanted to keep AD, but AD was expendable when you can get a player that's 6 years younger and probably, if you listed the top 15 players in the league, is probably at least 5 slots better than AD. Some people would probably even have him more slots higher than AD.
Mm-hmm.
Some people might have Luca third and AD 12th. Who knows? I don't know. But at the end of the day, it comes down to that money and the relationship between Nico Harrison and Rob Pelinka. And the fact that they've been working on this and kept it in secrecy for the last 3 weeks. And supposedly LeBron didn't know, Rich Paul didn't know. The only people that knew were the owners of the Lakers and Jeannie Buss. Um, and I forgot who the new governor is, not Mark Cuban anymore. New governor
No, no, it's
for the Mavericks. Should have
yeah,
had that. But
yeah,
tho-
exactly. So
but
that's the
those
other
two
thing
people, Nico
too.
Harrison and Rob Pelinka, were the only people that knew about this. So reportedly. Now I'll get into if that's really true a little bit later. But at the end of the day, AD found I know for a fact AD found out the rest of the way we found out because you can't open it up and let everybody know because once you do that, if the Mavericks were to say, "Hey, Luca's up for sale," kind of like how we found out De'Aaron Fox is up for sale last week, it diminishes the trade value, regardless of what anybody says. It just
Sure.
the leverage and all that just changes. So when you have that happen, that's why you keep it under wraps. And reportedly, again, reports are coming out that the Lakers were not the only call that Nico Harrison made.
Right.
You just
This
told
was
me
just
that it was
yes.
Milwaukee, right?
Milwaukee was one of them. So now I don't know if that's BS or not. Social media sometimes, with these fake accounts, fake insiders, fake news, everything like that. By the way, the current Mavericks owners are Miriam Adelson and Patrick Dumont. They were the ones who I think combined to buy the majority stake from Mark Cuban. So that's the other thing too. The people that brought Luka in to the Mavs organization 7 years ago when he was, when they traded that pick to get him, they're no longer with the organization. That includes Mark Cuban, and that also includes Donnie Walsh. So they're no longer there. So Nico Harrison and this new ownership group have no allegiance to Luka Doncic whatsoever. Now, at the same point in time, is this really the end of the world for the Dallas Mavericks? In my opinion, it's not. We're going to get back to the Laker end of this, Chaz, but I want to talk about the Mavs for a sec. The Mavs situation, even though they were in the finals last year, I think they felt like, there might be a ceiling to what Luka and Kyrie can accomplish together, in the sense of it's too much of the same thing. We have two guys, electric, right? Dominant players, all-star players, right?
And Kyrie and Luka you're talking about.
And Kyrie and Luka, but not very good defensively, and it's too much of the same thing. Yes, we have a good front court, but we also just lost Derek Lively for the next 2 to 3 months. Gafford has also been kind of banged up. If we could add an Anthony Davis to this mix, it stabilizes our front court in the meantime, and it might actually help us in the short term, because we don't know what Luka's going to look like when he gets back. So we throw a guy like Anthony Davis in there. By the way, who's the head coach of the Mavs? Jason Kidd, who was the assistant for the Lakers for 2 seasons when they won the championship in 2020. And that it was Jason Kidd, as well as Frank Vogel. I believe Vogel is on his staff, or a coaching consultant or something like that. So he goes to at least a staff that understands his strengths as a player. So now you have Anthony Davis in the front court. You still got Daniel Gafford. You got PJ Washington. Klay Thompson now could go into that more of that natural 2-guard position, Chaz. And now you have Kyrie, who really is at his best when he's got the keys to the car. You know what I'm saying? So is it risky? Of course, because Kyrie and AD, I think the knock on them has been leadership through the years. Are they true leaders?
They're going to be so nasty.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. What were the Lakers trying to do the last 3 years? Trying to get Kyrie. You heard Laker fans saying, get Kyrie. We want to see that pick and roll next to him and Anthony Davis. Now you're going to have it in Dallas. So what I want to tell Dallas fans, because I saw that they were protesting outside of the arena today. They were very upset. Obviously,
they brought like a casket out.
They brought a casket in.
Out. They're really hurt.
And everything.
I saw a picture of somebody in church in a full gear. Luka Doncic giving it to the Lord. Like, yeah,
for sure. Absolutely. And I know Laker fans, I know one of, my guy Bowles was very upset at the decision to trade Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic, because Luka doesn't play any defense, the conditioning, why are you keeping LeBron, all of that stuff. And we'll get all into that. But just from the Mavs perspective, Kendrick Perkins said on ESPN, he thinks they could become the second best team in the West. I'm not going to go that far yet. If they're healthy, this team will be a very tough out in the 3 or 4 spot. If Klay could somehow get going, you get Anthony Davis healthy and get him into that position, and hopefully Jason Kidd can ease that transition, along with what you already have in, with guys like Quentin Grimes. I don't know if Lively's going to come back, but they could still be a very good team, and they're certainly going to be a tough out. No one is going to want to face them in a 7-game series because of that front court and what Kyrie can do in his ability to break down a defense and create for everybody around him.
The Lakers are already 5th in the West standings. Dallas is 9th. I'm willing to bet anything, even with this trade. I don't even know what moves are going to happen, but the Lakers aren't done. The Lakers are going to have a better record than the Mavericks.
No, they're not.
Before the end of the season. They're not done. So, but I heard Charles Barkley say the same thing. Oh, the Mavericks could be the second best team in the league. They could be. Memphis could. Houston could. Denver still can. The West is wide open for that second slot. Obviously, it's OKC and everybody else, because they're that good. They haven't even lost 10 games yet. Everybody else has lost at least 16 in the West. So it's wide open. And for that reason, that's why everybody can say that in pundits. But I'm going to tell you this: the Lakers will have more wins than the Mavericks, because they already got 3 more right now, right? And that's in part because Luka has missed so much time. But reportedly, Luka is still targeting a February 8th date. So we're going to see Luka in a Laker jersey.
February 8th? Hold on.
February?
I'm going to that game. I actually have tickets to that game. Shout out to my girl, Carla. That was a Christmas gift to me. And we're going to see them take on the Pacers on February 8th. And we were just talking about that. I wonder if Luka will be suited up by February 8th. So if that's,
I
I'm going
hope
to
he
hold you to that,
is.
Chaz. I hope
I hope he is.
yeah, that's going to be an awesome game. That's a 1:00 matinee on Saturday.
Here's the thing: if he was in the Mavericks uniform, like, would he still be targeting that date? I don't know, but we'll see. I think he wants to play before the All-Star break, commences, because that's a
Right.
lot. That's a lot of time off. But overall, at the end of the day, I think it's a good trade for both teams.
It is.
Everybody wants to
And
talk about who
Max Christie's going to be there too with
is
him
no
on the.
slouch. Do you see what he did to Jalen
He was
Brunson on the defensive end last
he
night?
was he was
So
he was great. He's been
Matt,
great. Since he got back into the starting lineup. Yeah.
Max Christie is no slouch. Jalen Hood-Schifino, Rob whiffed on that. He definitely could have got a ton of more players before. Who's the main player was it
It's three of them:
uh,
Jaime
Ju-
Hawkins, Brandon
Jaime
Pajemski, Cam
Jaquez? Yep.
Whitmore. Those three. Yeah.
I
And
think,
also, too,
yeah,
go ahead. Maxi Kleba is also coming over to the Lakers, and a familiar friend in Markieff Morris. This will be a second stint with Lakers. He was also on that 2020 championship team with
I
LA.
think he'll get
So both of
waived.
them,
I think Markeith
yeah,
will get
more
waived.
than likely that he'll get waived. Kleba, though, is interesting. I like the fact that he's a stretch four. And now I'm also thinking with Kleba, if Kleba
Sure.
is healthy, I don't know what his situation is. That makes it even more likely that Rui Hachimura could be on his way out and could be a
No.
centerpiece in a potential trade to land a center. If you have, how many of these, two-way wings are you going to have? You've got Vanderbilt, you've got Finney Smith, you've got Hachimura, and now you have Kleba. You have two basically, 3-4 combination forwards. How many of them do you need? You need a center at
Yeah,
this point.
I
So
don't.
some of those guys, one of those guys is going to have to get traded.
Exactly, and it's probably Vando before Rui. Rui's the best one out of those three. Why? Because he can actually shoot more than those other two guys. DFS can shoot better than you know uh, Vanderbilt, but Rui can shoot better than DFS. So it it goes hand in hand at the same time. I don't think Rui will get traded, but he might be. Shit, I can't predict anything. Could you have predicted that Luka Doncic will be wearing a Laker jersey in the next however many days? No. So like,
To,
do I
to
do
quote
I
Joe
know what?
Pesci from The Irishman, nobody.
Nobody, man. So at the end of the day, it really is just, it's a fluid situation, but I'm really excited to see what happens. Biggest part in all this is that I love that the Lakers reset their clock in terms of the star that they have. They always have a star for every decade. LeBron was the star for the last 8, 6, 7 years, or
7 years.
whatever it was, and whatever it's going to be. Luka's going to be the star for the next however long it's going to be. Before that, it was Kobe. Before that, it was Shaq. Before that, it was Magic. Before that, it was Kareem. Like, before that was Chamberlain. Before that, it was West. Like, we
Mhm.
have everybody lined up, ready to go, and Luka is
Yep.
just another notch in the belt for a great Laker franchise. And I get why Laker fans are so unbearable at times, because
Mhm.
literally every player in the league is possible. It's possible.
It
And
is
one thing,
given the
and
history.
one,
Yeah.
I want to say one more thing really quick.
Go ahead. I want to
People
get to some of
have
the comments next.
people have said some really bad stuff about Rob, about his relationships. People don't want to do deals with the Lakers because of how he was as an agent. Um, he has pulled off trades for Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis, all within the same 5 year span. So anybody saying anything about Rob and his relationships, and then he got this deal done because of his relationship with Nico Harrison. Now everybody else that doesn't want to deal with him, that's their problem. But he's still getting it done, and he's still making trades, whether they're good trades and bad trades in Russell Westbrook, or good trades for Luca. He's still able to maneuver within the market. So everything that everybody has said about Rob Pelinka and his relationships and his deal making, down the toilet on a day like today.
Well, like I hear what you're saying, but here's the difference in the circumstance. And I want to get to some of the comments that people have been leaving on my Instagram. I want to get to Paco's comments here, and then we'll just kind of go off of that. This was not a Pelinka initiated, at least from my understanding. Now I could be wrong on this. This was not a Pelinka initiated trade. This was Nico Harrison being fed up with the Luka situation, wanting to get out from underneath it while he still can before the Supermax situation came up. And basically, it's a very risky move, but it was one that Nico Harrison felt was necessary, not just for the short-term health of the Mavericks, but for the long term. And we're going to see if this pays off, because if it doesn't, if they get bounced in the first round, which is very likely, Chaz, like you said, the West is loaded. And if you run into a team like Denver in the first round, or let's say the Clippers, or let's say Oklahoma City or Houston or Memphis or even the Lakers, no guarantees that Dallas is going to, catch lightning in a bottle, just like they've done in 2 of the last 3 years and go to the conference finals, or like last year, go to the finals as like a 5 seed. You just don't know. So that being said, this is a huge move for the now as well as for the future. But if you still want to compete this season, this is still a flawed roster, and you have to figure out what your next moves are and who currently on this roster is now expendable. And that's why I was saying Hachimura. I hope I'm wrong on this. Maybe Austin Reeves or Connect. I'm sure a lot more teams are going to be at least inquiring about those guys and their availability. And here's the other problem with trading Vando. He's coming off 2 feet surgeries, and you would be on the hook for him for this year and the next 3 years after that. So I just don't know if teams want to take that on. Even though they're not expensive years, I don't know if teams want to take that on right now. But let's get to some of the comments here. So I know my guy Bulls was weighing in. There is no disputing Luka. I think we can all agree, but that's not the point. You need to grab Valanciunas or Vooch. Backcourt is really clogged now. Are we thinking now or the future? That's my question. Chaz, why don't you unpack some of that?
We're thinking now. We're also thinking the future. We're thinking about both, and this move clearly takes care of both. I think the Lakers got better. It just depends on what deals they make following and who they get to fill out the rest of the roster and consolidating the talent that they have. If they don't do that, they got worse this season, but better for the future because they reset the clock. 31-year-old AD versus 25-year-old Luka Doncic, with LeBron probably out the door at the end of this year, next year, or at worst the year after. So at some point, like by the time Luka's next contract kicks in, I think LeBron will be retired by then. Right? Like
Yeah.
by the time this next, whether it be, it's not a super max, obviously, but this extension, I think it's 4 years, 216 million that he can sign with the Lakers if he stays with the Lakers or any other team. Or if he goes into free agency, he can actually get $296 million from the Lakers over a 5-year period. But either way, he lost out on that $345 million deal. But he's going to make up a lot of that money in endorsements, especially being the type of branded athlete that Luka is. So I don't think he's worried about the money. AD clearly ain't worried about the money because he's waving trade kickers already just to get to Dallas or just to help Dallas for $5.9 million, which is solid of him. He did the same thing when he got traded from New Orleans to LA to help the Lakers put together a championship roster to win a championship that first season as well. So I like what the Lakers are doing and what it's literally a trade for both teams to win immediately and in the future. Now, only one of them will, or neither of them will. Like it could be both of that, but both of those things. But I also think that the biggest thing in all this is the fact that you rewind the clock on a star, and you got a better star player. I
So
cannot wait to see what the rest of the team looks like.
that's the other thing, and I think it's just not a complete product right now. We're gonna have to see what other moves are made, particularly to the front court between now and then. Because if you're able to land a Vucevic, a Valanciunas, a Jakob Poeltl, a Miles Turner, Walker Kessler. I just dealing with Danny
Their
Ainge.
price is so high.
I know,
but
that's the
Danny
only
Ainge got
problem, bro.
JHS, two second round picks in this deal. We just said take them. We just need somebody.
Yeah.
So obviously Danny Ainge is in contact with Nico Harrison and Rob Pelinka. Can they work out a further conversation
It's a good
for Walker Kessler or
but it's different though.
Clarkson?
It's one thing when you're dumping, a dude who's had a lot of injuries in his 2 years. He's still young, but really hasn't shown a ton of potential in Hood Schifino. And it's another thing when you're taking on an all-star caliber center who was on the U.S. World Cup team for FIBA 2 years ago, and is has shown himself to be one of the more young and promising big men we have in the NBA in Walker Kessler. So I just think it's a different situation. Danny has always been somebody to gouge, and we'll see if he does that this time, or if maybe now things might loosen up, and if the Lakers are willing to deal some of those younger players, like I said, like a Dalton Connect, or maybe even Austin Reeves. I'm not saying they should. I'm saying I'm wondering if they will, in order to land one of these centers, whether it be Kessler, Turner, Vucevic, Pirtle, some of the names that we talked about this past week. All right, a couple more comments over here. It was all LeBron, says Kahari Jones Jr. It's me, AD said, understandable to be furious, but if Luka matures, which most 25-year-olds eventually do, then we'll be fine. And that's kind of like what you're saying, right, Chaz? That if we give this give this kid an opportunity who's already accomplished a lot in 7 years, short of winning a championship and an MVP, but he's done almost everything else. He would, maybe playing with this Laker team can help get him to that next level, and certainly playing alongside LeBron for the next few years might be what he needs. Similar to Walker Buehler playing with Clayton Kershaw, helped him establish himself as an ace and a big game pitcher. Sometimes that can help.
Every star that LeBron has played with, he has had a positive impact on their career, whether it be Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis. All of those players were better from the time that they joined LeBron to the time that their time with LeBron ended. They got better. So I think Luke is going to get better when he sees LeBron's work ethic and he sees what he does. Now, you can't do exactly what LeBron does because nobody's LeBron. There's only one, right? But he can ignite a certain fire in you if you are of that ilk, right? And if Luca really wants to be as great as he says he does, especially in this most recent post talking about I'll play wherever I play, I'll play with the same passion to win championships. If he plays with that, he will win a championship in a Laker jersey regardless of, not regardless of who's on the team, but regardless of what's said or what people may think about him because of what's happening with this trade right now. His stock is down. His stock is down for as low as a reigning first team All NBA player can be. His stock is down, so he is
Yeah.
going to be heavily motivated. If I were Luca, as good, if I was as good as Luca is, and I wasn't in shape, but people were talking shit about me not being in shape, I would go out and bust everybody's ass, not in shape, just to show everybody I am them. I am who I say I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that is the type of energy I want him to come to the Lakers with, and I believe he will. And depending upon what these next moves look like, the Lakers will be solid. I want to get into one thing really quick, and something that Kahari Jones mentioned in his comment as well.
Mhm.
I don't believe for 1 minute that LeBron found out at dinner with his family, like it's being reported. Dave McMahon had been reported. Like LeBron was just sitting at dinner and he found out like everybody else found out. But it's also being reported from Chris Haynes that the Lakers are thanking Anthony Davis, not I'm sorry, Rich Paul, the agent for Anthony
Mhm.
Davis, and LeBron James for their professionalism during this process. If they didn't find out, and when we all found out, why would you thank them for their professionalism during this
Yeah.
process when it hasn't even been a full 24 hours?
LeBron had
So
to have known something.
you
Yeah.
knew, you knew at some point you're not going to trade the best player's best friend on the team without checking with him, especially knowing that he may be on the fringes of retirement. Like you're going to make sure, and Jenny has said this in her last interview. My priority is LeBron. She said that straight out. Number one priority is keeping him happy. So you think she's gonna do something that might make him unhappy without him knowing?
Yeah.
Not a fucking chance. So
Not
it
unless we're doing we're going to trade both of them. And Chris Haynes came out this morning, like you said, and he said LeBron James is probably not I'm paraphrasing, is not going anywhere, and he remains committed to the team through the February 6th trade deadline, which was an odd headline because LeBron is under contract. So of course he would be committed. He's. I
yeah,
guess the
but
point of that. I guess the point of that was to say LeBron is not going to demand a trade now that you've traded
right.
Anthony
He's
Davis.
he's the only player outside of Bradley Beal with a no trade clause, so he can ask for a trade and literally dictate where he wants to go also because he has a great relationship with the Lakers and because he's won a championship for this franchise. So um, I also want to get to the point. You want to get to a comment real quick, or can I make something real quick?
Yeah. No, just one more to my guy Paco. I know he was hitting me up to do a
All right.
Twitter
Oh yeah.
Spaces
Go
with
ahead,
him
Paco.
last night, but I was out of commission. Yeah. Shout out to Rob. I didn't say I didn't like it. I was just stunned. He had the balls to get it done. Is correct, fellas, and more moves are happening very soon. I'm still stunned. I know all this. If you look at Paco Salt's post, everything was he's in the Midwest, and all he kept saying was it's 3:25 and I'm still stunned. It's 5:15, still stunned. It's like, okay, we get it. You're stunned. We're all stunned. We're still trying to process this. I think Rob Pelinka, who pulled off the trade, is still trying to process this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I think we were all
Yeah.
thinking Anthony Davis was going to be here for at
I
least
thought
the
he was
next
going to
3 to
retire a
4
Laker.
years,
I thought
possibly
he was going
even
to retire a
retire,
Laker.
but at least finish his prime here. You know, that's where I think we were at, you know, with it. And I certainly thought so as well. But, you know, if you are so committed to LeBron, like you elaborated on, and you're not wrong on that, you know, whether Laker fans like it or hate it, I know my guy Bulls does not like that as well. It's the truth. So that means everyone else is expendable, and they are going to, for better or worse, going to do this at the behest of LeBron James. That is the power he has within this organization. And Pelinka has said so himself. These star players are our partners. They are not employees. Certainly, LeBron is not an employee. He is a partner of the organization. So this is what comes with it. That being said, there's a lot worse moves that could happen at the behest of LeBron than getting a 25-year-old Slovenian
Thank
superstar
you.
who
Thank
has
you.
been a first-team All-NBA, a perennial All-Star, went to the finals last year, been to 2 of the last 3 conference finals, and has shown that he wants to win. He just needs to get himself in better shape.
Like,
if he could do that, great things can happen.
Think about this. The Mavericks went to the finals last year with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, who both don't play notable defense,
Sure.
and PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, and Derek Lively.
Derek
when
Jones
Lively was a
Jr.
rookie.
too. Yeah.
Derek Jones Jr. came off the bench, I believe, or did he? Yeah, I think
He started. He was our defensive specialist.
Some
so
games,
he was good.
yeah. But either way, like they took that team to the finals. So if you think that team can go to the finals, what do you think the Lakers are going to do with LeBron and Luka, two of the smartest players and passers in the game, with the Lakers being armed with another first round pick and the rest of their roster to trade? Like, I'm if anybody thinks that the Lakers are not going to do anything this season, they're sorely mistaken because they have no idea what moves that they're going to make moving forward. Now, let me get to the Mavericks. Here's the point that I wanted to make on the Mavericks. They are going to be so nasty right out the gate.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be good. They're going to be great. They're going to be flat out great. Jason Kidd knows exactly how to utilize AD. Same action, same pin down, same everything. He's not going to shoot as many threes. He's not going to be as further out from the basket. He's going to play a solid high elbow, low block baseline
Below the
role,
3 is what you're saying.
Dunker spot.
Below the 3.
And AD is just going to be the anchor of that defense. Now, that's where the Lakers are going to be very, 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 very bad defensively. They're already not great. So whoever they bring in has to be good defensively. And I think that player is Miles Turner. If
It's
they
got
can
to
go
be at
get
this point.
in my opinion, like the 4 guys on my list were Nick Claxton, Jakob Poeltl, Walker Kessler,
Claxton.
and why am I just forgetting his name right now? I just said it. Miles Turner. Jonas Valanciunas was good if he were going with AD, not the sole starting big man. No, do not get Jonas. Spend a little more to get somebody like Kessler or even Miles Turner. Miles Turner is the player that they should go get. That's the big guy who's available, that we can trade for, that is great defensively, that can still step out and shoot the 3, that's going to do wonders with Luka and space the floor with LeBron as well. You still got Connect, you still got Reeves, you still got Rui. Lakers got a solid squad. So I'm excited on how this is going to work out. But the Mavericks, let me just make it perfectly clear. They are
Mm.
going to be fucking nasty right out the gate.
They're
Kyrie
gonna
and
be good.
AD will be very good. So, like, how good will they be? I think their window is only they only got this year, next year, and the year after that. After that, I do not think by that time
Their
AD is 30,
window,
33, 34. Kyrie
yeah.
is closer to 35. Like it's going to be very, very dicey for them after these next couple seasons, max 3 seasons. But the Lakers, on the other hand, they got this ride with LeBron, and even when LeBron goes away, you still got another max slot for or two max slots for whoever else you're gonna get, and filling out the rest of the roster. And guess what? Luca won't even be 33 years from now. So that's why the Lakers not only won this trade, I think today or last night, but moving forward in the future as well.
Yeah, I don't disagree with a lot of that. I think the ceiling for the Mavs in the short term is higher than the Lakers. I think we could agree on that. But I think the Lakers in the long term potentially could be better. But I still think these next moves are crucial.
Oh
And I
yeah.
know people are bringing up the Russell Westbrook trade. I know my guy Grimaldi said, "Do you remember that trade, the Russell Westbrook trade?" Yeah, the Russell Westbrook trade, the one where he got to the Lakers, that was not a good deal. Russ, though, was at a different stage in his career. We had already seen his game start to regress a little bit. And furthermore, he was not a good fit next to LeBron James. He just wasn't. That's the thing. I think Luka, because Luka's ability to be a more of a true offensive force in his ability to make plays, in his ability to knock down the three, in his ability now, the last few years, he's been a little more used to playing off the ball. I think it could be a better fit, right? But you still need to add the right pieces. That was the other thing that people forgot about that Laker team in 2022. They did not have the right components around those three players. The bigs were old, the wings were old, nobody could shoot. Really, had it not been for Austin Reeves and Malik Monk, that season wouldn't have come down to the final weeks. That
Malik
season would have
Monk
been over
specifically,
by
yeah.
by February. So I mean, the fact that those two
Good
guys kind
point.
of burst onto the scene were the only reasons why the Lakers were in the play-in situation up until the end. But I think this is a different situation just altogether, because you're only going to be with LeBron for maybe a year or two more, including this one. I think this might be it for LeBron James. I think it'll be this season, possibly next season, and I think that's a wrap for him. And I don't think
Cool.
he wants to go out. I
Okay.
don't think he
Okay.
wants to go out
LeBron.
when
Okay.
yeah, I don't think he wants to go out but like a lot of these other players do, with their bodies disintegrated, averaging 10, 11 points a game. I just think he's just going to try to go out on his own terms. But you have a star for the future. And I'm going to keep saying it. These next moves are important. If you could land yourself another solid front court piece, Kessler, Claxton, Vucevic, Turner, whoever, will certainly be an upgrade over what they have right now with Jackson Hayes and Koloko and whatnot. You will see a noticeable difference. And I think that's what will keep the Lakers within that sort of championship contender, because I
Yeah.
still think, even though they were playing well, Chaz, throughout January and now this first game into February, I still thought that this particular group had a ceiling. I don't know if they could have beaten anybody 4 times out of 7. Certainly not the Denver Nuggets in the playoffs. I still wasn't 100% sure of that.
The two teams that I think that they couldn't beat 4 times out of 7 were the Thunder and the Nuggets. Everybody else, it's wide open. It's wide open. I've seen the Rockets, as good as they played recently. I've seen them lose to the Bulls at home. As good as Memphis is, I've seen how inconsistent they are with the injuries.
And they're
Like
young. Yeah.
as good as the Clippers are, Kawhi still is always an unknown when the playoffs come. As
Right.
good as Anthony Edwards is, it's still a question mark on Julius Randle when it comes to that team long term. So like there are question marks with everybody except for OKC. Even Denver has questions because they just come out on the
No
road
bench.
and give a poor lackluster effort defensively, and also they have no bench. So I'm not really concerned like that in terms of are the Lakers going to be able to do this and that. I think the three best teams, when all is said and done in the West at the end of the year, will be the Mavericks, will be the Lakers, will be the OKC Thunder. I don't think the Rockets and the Grizzlies will still, I mean, they'll be viable, they'll be right there, but we won't be talking about them like winning a championship. a 2 and 3 seed in the East, or we're talking about possibly winning the championship. The Cavs, the Knicks, the Celtics. Those are the three teams in the East that could easily make the finals. Everybody else, probably not. But we'll see what happens when it shakes out. This next week, the reason why we're on right now is because there are going to be a lot of things that happen between now and February 6th. So I just couldn't wait to not say anything until Wednesday. Got to get ahead of it.
Sure.
So
No, absolutely. I'm
we
I'm right
and,
there
and we're
with you, man. Yeah,
and we're dropping straight facts. Also, before we close out in just a minute or two, I'd like to say that Nico Harrison has some balls.
definitely.
I just want to know what he knows that everybody else in the league doesn't know. Because Luca, to trade Luca and being a five-time All NBA player, he's the realest star that there is right now.
Yep.
He's better than SGA. He just is. The only player he's not definitively better than is Jokic, and that's because Jokic rebounds and Luca doesn't, and doesn't play defense like that. But
Yep.
outside of that, Luca is so good defensively. The only player in the league that's definitively better than him is Jokic.
Mhm.
Embiid isn't. Jason Tatum isn't. Nobody is. So the fact that the Lakers got one of those players to go with LeBron, and you saw what LeBron did last night in front of Spike Lee and MSG, right
Played
before
great.
he clocked. Right before he clocked out and checked out, and his son came in and got a nice left-handed layup. What a nice moment for LeBron. I I don't care what he says. I don't care what anybody says. I refuse to believe that LeBron found out at dinner like everybody else did. So I'm excited. I'm encouraged. I'm excited for the Mavericks. I'm excited for basketball in general. I'm excited for sports. This is the biggest trade in sports history, I think, in terms
And
of trade.
yeah, no, absolutely. And certainly one of the biggest midseason moves I think we've ever seen. I think a lot of people talk about the Pau Gasol trade, how it happened on the anniversary 17 years ago, but Pau Gasol was not the level of player that Luka Doncic
No,
is. Pau Gasol was great, no question about it. I mean, Pau Gasol was very good. And it was a great fit for the Lakers at a critical time in that organization during that time within the organization. But it didn't have the same sort of pop that this trade is because we also didn't see that coming, and you're getting a true superstar, one that you could build around for the coming years, like you mentioned. I think that's
it
really what it is. The question is going to be the chemistry and how much lightning you can catch in a bottle, and what the next moves after this are. I go back to that. The chemistry and the next moves going to be critical for this Laker team. And there could be a bit of a drop off too. We gotta be prepared for that as well.
like think about this. The equivalent of this trade is kind of like trading for LeBron in 2008.
Hmm.
Like LeBron was like he hadn't won anything yet. He had a bunch of questions, but he was a five-time All-Star, a multiple-time All NBA player. Questions about his heart and his leadership and this and that, and the Cavs giving up on him and trading him away to the Lakers to play with Kobe Bryant. Like that's the equivalent of what I think of what we're witnessing right now. So um yeah, to poo-poo it or to be upset or anything like that, if you're a Laker fan, you're crazy. You have every right to be upset if you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, especially if they don't win these next 2 years, because AD's already 31 and big men don't age well, and he's
No,
already
they
has a
don't.
bunch of injuries.
Especially an
So I
injury history like his. Yeah.
I gave I personally gave AD until about 36 to be a high effective player. Um Will he make it that long? And probably so, because clearly he's made changes with his body because he's played 90% of his games the last 2 years. So he might make it there, but um Luca will make it there more than likely. So um great trade all around. And there's so much more that's going to come out over the course of the next however many days. It hasn't even been a full 24 hours. It's only been 20 hours, 19 hours since the news dropped. So we'll get into a whole lot more. We will be live on Wednesday. Chris, any last points before we get out of here?
Yeah, so we're going to be live on Wednesday. That's going to be the day before the NBA trade deadline. So we'll see what happens there. We're going to have a guest on for the third time, we're going to try to have on Kevin Klein of the Incline Dodgers podcast. I know they just had Bob Nightingale on. Dodgers just had Fan Fest, so they're gearing up for spring training. But Kevin is also a big LA sports fan, so I'm interested to hear what he has to say. The reason why we didn't have him on was because we didn't end up doing shows those weeks because of the fires and whatnot. So
Right.
we're going to have him on. Trade deadline is going to be Thursday. There's going to be more to come out, I'm sure. And Chaz and I, we did a special Sunday edition, but we'll be back on our regular Wednesday time around 8:15, 8:30 on Wednesday night. So stay tuned, everyone. Be sure to follow us at The Outlet Forum on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. They could always follow me at Chris_Camello on Twitter and CCamello1 on Instagram. Chaz, where can they follow you, my friend?
And you guys already know what it is. Follow me at Chaz Pearson on Instagram, at Chaz P on Twitter. And man, I cannot wait to see what happens over the course of this next week and the rest of the season. Basketball truly, truly is, and the NBA is the leader in the clubhouse when it comes to breaking news. NFL tries to catch up. They're trying to do their best in March with their free, but this league, the NBA, is all year round. And the biggest deal of all time came just a week before the trade deadline. So tap
Yeah,
in, buckle your
crazy.
seatbelts. We'll have everything for you guys moving forward. Thank you guys and appreciate the support. See you guys on Wednesday.